Hi again. I'd like to do another video on React and continue talking about our stateful components. We've created a simple light switch component in the last example. This is super simple, right? You can do a lot more with this, but I'm just trying to hit the basic points here. So our component has one property of state called isOn that determines whether the light is on or not, right? And we click the button to change the state. Okay, so this is pretty simple, right? We got a button. It's going to call toggle, and toggle is going to, make the isOn property the opposite of what it was, right? Let's imagine also that our light switch wants to keep track of how many times you've clicked it. So it wants to count the number of clicks. Like, this might be more useful. Imagine a counter component. It could just be a little button that shows the number of likes, or it shows the number of, I don't know, whatever counts or the number of items you want to add to your basket, or something like that, right? So how do we do this, right? I've already got this isOn property, and what I'll want to do is add another property called count. Okay, so this is my state. I'm going to move this to its own line, so I'll add a comma, and then I'll say count is 0. So when we initialize our state, we'll set count to 0. Okay, and let's imagine we want to display the count here, and maybe we'll put it inside the button next to click, so it'll tell you how many times you clicked, right? So I'll put a space there, and then I'll use the curly braces here, right? So the stuff that's outside the curly braces just gets printed literally like what it is, and then what we put inside here will be a value. So we'll say this dot state dot count. Okay, so we'll just put the count here. And then if we save that and view it, now you can see it says clicks are 0, right? Okay, so what we want to do next is we want to increase the number of clicks, right? So here I've got the set state, and I'm setting the isOn property. So maybe I want to also change the number of counts, right? So, or change the count, right? So what I'll do is I'll get the count, and we could put it, actually, we could just put it inside here. Why don't we put a comma there and say count colon is this dot state dot count plus plus, or plus 1, or plus equals 1. And there we go, right? So that'll be our actually, let's make this plus 1. Yeah, there we go, right? Let's give it a test. So every time we click, the number here should also increase. Let's refresh. 1, 2, 3, right? Okay, so that's just a simple example. It keeps track of the number of clicks. This one, also shows us whether the light is on, or it could have been anything. Maybe clicking this opens a drawer or reveals some text that someone can read, and then they can put it away by clicking the button, right? So there's like a lot of things you can do with this. You'll just have to get creative for the components that you need. I mean, think about making websites now, and then look at everything that you put on your website and just imagine it as a component, right? And and then now you can write the code to create a component, right? Okay, let's do one more thing. So even though this doesn't really make sense in this component sense, but let's imagine that we wanted to use props to configure our component. Okay, so here we get the default values for our component. We set the default value here. This is the only time that you're going to set state. So inside the constructor, right? Inside the constructor, you set the initial state, okay, as an object with properties, right? And this is the only time you set state directly. Every time you're going to change state after the constructor, you're going to use the set state method, okay? So if we want to get props, what we can do is we can say props.isOn. And maybe, I don't know, that props would also include a count, but yeah, maybe, we can put the count in here too, okay? So, so how would we use this? Well, again, with these kind of components, you pass in props through the attributes in the tag, right? So what we'll do is we'll say, isOn equals true, right? That'll have the light on by default. And then we can say count equals, and if you use a number and you want it to be an int, you have to put it inside the curly braces, okay? If it's going to be a string, then you can just wrap it in the quotation marks, okay? But if we want this to be a number, we'll have to type it in there. So let's, this is just a comment up here, but why don't we add this to our component at the bottom here in React DOM.render, right? So if we want to render our component right there, I'll add these properties, right? And then those will actually get rendered on the screen. So let's refresh it, and now it starts with 111 clicks and the light is on, right? And if I change it here to false, I can configure my light with the light switch being off. Okay. So anyway, so thanks for watching, and I hope that fills in a little more about state and stateful components for you.